Okay, hi everyone. I'm Rick. I'm the VP of Engineering at Bitnami, and I'm here with Martin, who's the Director of Engineering for Stacksmith. Martin, you're going to show us how to migrate an application to the cloud using Stacksmith, right?
I am. I think we should start off with, we have an examples repository out there. It's on GitHub. It's public, so anybody can jump in. So I kind of just want to start off from there, so anybody who watches it can actually go in and do it themselves as well, instead of just running through some scripted demo. Is that okay?
Yeah, let's do it. So people watch you do use the example application. So you'll package this example application, and then they can follow along.
Indeed. Let me share my screen. All right. So here's GitHub. If you, we'll probably throw in some links there, but if you Google for Bitnami Labs Stacksmith examples, like those 4 words, you'll land on this page. And as you can see, it has quite a few examples, and each of them has a pretty decent README. I think today we should do what all the cool kids are doing, which is Node.js with Mongo, so the famous mean app, which is here. So we've got a README here, and I sort of just want to follow the README, copy and paste my way to success, so people also trust that this will work whenever they go in and try and do it themselves. So let's see. Stacksmith.bitnami.com is the URL. So that's where you start off. In this case, I've already onboarded some credentials. But the first thing you'll have to do if you're signing up is just onboard your cloud credentials. It could be AWS or it could be Azure. There's 2 clouds that we support at the moment. It's usually pretty fast and painless, but we'll just jump into an account that's been already onboarded. So here are the instructions. Git clone, which I have already done. Go to directory, which I've already done. But here's the parts that we'll start with. So this will be creating a tarball, which is more or less the end of most release processes, taking whatever your code plus whatever you need to do to it, compile it, minify it, whatever it is you have to do, and shoving it into some sort of file that can be moved around. So copy and paste this, and this will give us an app.blue.tar. See it?
Okay, I was going to say, let's see what's actually in. So this is the directory that you cloned from GitHub, the example application that you cloned from GitHub. Okay, and it's got a few pieces to it.
Yes.
Okay.
So it has the app directory, which I can show you.
This is all run-of-the-mill stuff if you used whatever framework that you're using to generate the code. So developers will be familiar with the contents of that.
All of this is super familiar, I think, to anybody.
Okay. And so all you did was tar up the app directory.
Yeah.
Okay. Which again, if you have a CI system, this might be just what's output by that, maybe. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, some of them output a tarball, some of them output like a Git revision that's pulled from the other end, but either way, you want just one thing to move around.
Okay.
This is the one. So here, I mean, if you don't even want to do that, you can just download the tarball from the Git repo. But running one command seems fine. So then we'll upload 3 more scripts: a build script, a boot script, and a run script.
Okay, so it seems like it's time to actually use Stacksmith.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we're like 5 minutes in, we haven't shown anyone Stacksmith yet. Okay, here we go.
This is Stacksmith, and I'm going to click on Package and Application. So this is the Create Application screen. It's fairly straightforward. You have to pick a name for your application, which we will call, since this is a mean application, let's call it the nicest app. And we'll have a version number in here, whatever you want, and open source.
So these can be anything. The application name and application, that's for your own purposes.
Hello. Yes,
Okay.
indeed. Dash.
Okay.
Very long. All right. So
It's just a very long and arbitrary, but let's just move on. Like
this is open source. So customizing architecture. So this is where you more or less describe how your application is put together and what major components it needs. We have a whole bunch of different, we call them stack templates put together. And this just essentially helps you get started a lot faster. So you don't have to figure out how to do a lot of these things. So we do have one that is Node.js with a NoSQL database, which is MongoDB in this case. So we'll just select that, and we'll use CentOS 7, which is fine.
Well, can we take a look at what other options are available now first?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So we have, I mean,
a lot of Java,
yeah,
.NET Core, and Node. Okay. So
and then the generic one, which really you can build off anything off of that.
So like it supports anything I want because I can just start with the generic one if I have a different framework that I'm using. Okay, like Python. If I have a Python application, I'll just choose generic, and then okay.
Yeah, with or without MySQL, and then you're ready to party.
And then I think when you show us the build scripts, that'll come clear.
Yeah, you'll see more of these come, show up over time. So then we get to targets, and here's where you specify what you want to build for. And you can build for AWS. You can also build for Kubernetes at the same time. It's pretty well described what you'll get out of each of these things. We'll just build through both today. And then application files. This is a tarball we created before. This is your magic sauce as a developer. So we'll just upload this tarball, and then we'll upload the build script, the boot script, and run script. I won't get into this today, but if you have a Git repo with all this, just specify that.
Let's do another episode on using Git, integrating with Git.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. So build script. Let's take a peek at the build script, which is available in the repo. So the build script gets run. You can't see that, right? I'm just gonna.
I can see it, but if the video is not super clear, it'll be hard to see. So.
Let's make this 1,000.
Wow. Okay.
That's
it's like Fisher Price.
Yes.
Maybe that should be a new file extension, FP for Fisher Price.
And it'll just increase the system fonts.
Okay.
All right. So let's look at the build script. The build script runs when the image gets built. And here's where you want to do all the heavy lifting, right? You want anything that is disk intensive, network intensive, CPU intensive, anything you can put in here, you should put in here.
Yeah.
Because then your application will boot, the image will boot fast when you get to the cloud, which is important for a very long list of reasons. Reliability being
the biggest one. Now, I mean, we talked before about how a lot of people might be used to more like spinning up an image, then using a tool or directly SSH into the image that then does things, provisions the installed image. And when people start migrating to the cloud, you want to rethink that a little bit and do as much of the work beforehand at build time as you can. And so this is where you can do all that at build time. That way, if you're pulling from a repository, like a Yum repository, and that repository is down, that failure will happen at build time, not at runtime. And so the reliability of your system dramatically.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All sorts of things happen there. And the heavy lifting we're doing here is unpacking this tarball, which is not granted lots of heavy lifting because this is not too big, but you might have a more complex, system to set up your application on disk. You're going to set some permissions, and then you'll do npm install, which will download anywhere between 10K and 1,000 gigabytes from the internet. And that'll be all your your node level dependencies. Okay,
so if this was Ruby, you might be doing gem install here. If this is Python, you might be doing pip. Or maybe would this also be where you might pool like system level dependencies? Maybe you need to install some other RPM packages and that kind of thing.
Exactly. You do all the Yum install. If you need to compile anything you want to do at this stage. We don't have to do any of that because this is where stack templates come into play. You're starting off from an image that has all of that pre-specified. So you're not having to install Node on your system or NPM or any of these things. All those tools are installed and ready to party for you.
Got it.
So
Okay.
you're focusing just on your thing here as a developer. So this is the build scripts. After the build script comes the boot script, which is something that gets run on first boot. So usually the most common scenario here is configuring, for example, if you have a database, configuring access to that database. Usually those values don't change each time you boot. There's sort of those credentials will be the same. So you just want to configure them once and then they're available going forward, right? So this is just this is using bash to inject an environment variable called database host into the right config file. Everybody has some shape or form of this in different ways in their systems, right? Sometimes it's, you just know it, just have muscle memories in your fingers because you do it manually each time you provision a new server. Sometimes there's, Puppet, Chef, Ansible. Sometimes there's bash like this, but setting the connection strings in a config file is something that I think all developers
right. Like there's different, depending on the framework that you're using, there might be slightly different ways of doing it, but the developers know how to do it and probably have these scripts lying around.
Yeah,
anyway.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you don't, just clone this and adapt this, again, copy and paste your way to success. So the other subtle thing in here is waiting for Mongo to come up before starting the service. And this is a common scenario where something boots, the database isn't quite ready, it errors because you can't read the database, so then it's stuck in
the typical orchestration, like wait for one service to be ready before you finish.
Yeah.
Like running what's on my image. And sometimes this is in the code, right? Like I've written code like this where I tell, my Java server not to start until it knows the database is ready. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
So as you can see from what we left in here, we're going to move this into the stack template. So it does this for you because we already know you're going to run Node and MongoDB, so we can do some of this for you. So eventually we'll even do this for you. You don't even have to have any of this code in your scripts or even your code. So then finally, the run script, which is how to actually execute your code, right? So again, this is a pretty boring script. It's just basically npm start in the right directory with the right user. And that's about it. With these scripts, you can just run through Stacksmith.
Okay. So the scripts are like the build script where you build the image, the boot script where you do first boot things, typically write files to configure a database, and then the run script. Now I noticed you were using different environment variables in there. Those are, okay, so now you're actually uploading the files.
Yeah, I'm uploading the files.
Okay, and then I guess all the environment variables that I might need in those scripts are all well documented and everything.
Yeah. I mean, each stack template has its own set of environment variables. So you just go into the documentation and list out which of those are available. So you don't have to poke around to find what they are. So
at this point, you've uploaded the code, which you happen to put in a tar file, and then you've uploaded 3 scripts for different parts of the life cycle. And so I think the magic here is that you're targeting AWS and Kubernetes, but you haven't done anything that's AWS specific or Kubernetes specific. So all you have to know how to do is configure your application, upload the files, the application itself, and the things that you need to configure, right? So I guess the next step is to hit create.
Which is pretty easy.
Okay.
So here you go, it goes off and it kicks off 2 parallel builds, one for AWS here and one for Kubernetes here. They take a few seconds and then you start to see streaming logs of the process as it happens for both of those cases. And this takes a while. It takes a while to it makes maybe 10, 15 minutes to build it for AWS, maybe 5 or 10, depending on how things are for Docker. And you get built images at the end of it. But I built this before. I actually built this a few days ago. I went through the whole process exactly as it is, just so I can show something that is cool. So this is exactly the same. It has the same files.
Yeah, because you got them from the same. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see a few things. First of all, there's a launch an AWS button here, which is really convenient because if you click on that, it sends you to the Aws console, and you can just launch it from there.
So you just finish your testing and
I can
make sure it's all good.
I can just show you.
I'm looking for like any information that I can steal from you. But,
hopefully.
Doesn't matter, dude. Nobody's going to watch the video this long anyway, so you could have put your credit card number up there.
I'll just put it password plain text from now on. Security by obscurity. So at this point, you're in AWS's console, and this is like launching any CloudFormation template. We just make it really easy for you. So we've pre-specified the S3 URL in here essentially.
All right.
So all of this will be familiar if you've done AWS, and if not, you can just click next.
But are you going to show us updates? Because that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this was built on, I think, on Friday, on the 17th. So since Friday, there are 22 system updates to this image. So if we go to System Packages tab, we get a good description of all the packages that need updating, what versions you currently have, and what is the version that will be updated to.
Okay, so that's why the value proposition of Stacksmith is migrate and maintain your applications, right?
Yeah,
because now you can rebuild it with just one button.
You can download like all the nitty-gritty details of what went into the build and all that here. So as you said, the interesting thing is that I can just click on repackage, and then that's it. This is going to go off. It's going to take exactly the same inputs, and it's going to rebuild it with all the system packages up to date.
Okay, and you can do, if you have a CI/CD system, we have a CLI, we have an API, you can do all of this by connecting with your current systems, right?
Yeah. So if you're into APIs, we have really comprehensive Swagger APIs, so you can go in and just see how to use them. So anything you see on the UI is based on top of these APIs.
We should do another episode just on like CI integration and API and stuff. So, all right. Do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I think this goes off, it builds, it launches. I think launching and poking around inside the image.
And what's in this log is all the output of your bash of your config files running, right? So like if I had an error in my config file, it would just show up in there, and I'd be able to fix my config file and kick it off again.
Yeah, exactly. And look, if we look at a previous one, here you can see npm install being
doing its thing.
Everything. Yeah, exactly. So anything you put in your script, you'll see the output here. You can
that gets saved off. So if I have compliance issues or whatever, I can show those to go back and do forensics, or if some compliance officer comes through and says, I demand to know what is in your images, you can just show them this is how it was built, and then you have the other link to the manifest. So, so
the log gets put into your own storage, so you have that. And then, the build spec is available as well. So you can just download that. And, there's more information that you'll want in there.
Okay, so you've demonstrated sort of how to use a sample application to start getting familiar with Stacksmith. And then we can do future episodes to go a little deeper, maybe look at more detail the assets that we build, maybe some of the more challenging problems that people have overcome with Stacksmith. As I said, CI/CD integration, the API, that kind of thing. So So can I just say like one thing though? Like the video got a little long, especially because I'm sitting in a super uncomfortable chair, because like we did this video last week, but the marketing team said, like, I have this big, comfortable, like, executive office chair that I work in, and they said that I, like, rock in it and swivel it too much. So I'm, like, sitting on a kitchen table chair. See, this is, like, what we use in our kitchen. It's like a wooden IKEA chair. So, like, these videos are going to be, I'm going to be motivated to keep the videos short, is what I'm saying.
You're being punished.
Yeah, for fidgeting. I guess as part of the remote work life cycle. Nice scarf, by the way.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is it cold down there in Buenos Aires now?
I mean, it's technically winter, but I am in short sleeves, so, you know.
All right. So in Buenos Aires, when it gets cold, you put a scarf on and stick with short sleeves.
When the marketing team gets involved, yes.
Are you like the only person in Buenos Aires with a scarf?
I had to dig this out of the closet.
Fair enough.
Just say that. It wasn't.
All right. So we'll do it again on Friday, and then we'll follow up on Friday. So thanks, everybody. Bye.